that this was set up for 11 o'clock. So, like, obviously, with the clocks going back this weekend, I think it's upset a lot of the algorithms because when I did give my mighty winner a ring at home because I looked at the YouTube screen and I could see it set for 11 o'clock, and I'm thinking, mate, I'm going to be in serious trouble if you guys have done something that I wasn't aware of. But literally, apologies if you guys have been waiting in the background because it's either a typo or the reasons for it
No,
is going to be the
that
clocks going
often
back.
happens with YouTube, that they get the timings kind of worldwide an hour out.
Yeah, exactly. But again, thanks everybody for sticking around. Like I say, nothing we can do. There's nothing that we've done
12
this
o'clock,
end.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, unless
It's
there's a
always
presser on a
12.
Friday.
Yeah, unless there's something changed, then we'll let you know on that one. But again, I do apologise, but I am so grateful that you guys have stuck around. Um, but before we get into today's stories, let's just go through the housework, just so we've got that sorted. Welcome to all across all of the platforms that are watching this morning. Thanks to all the mods working tirelessly in the background as normal. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy the show. Just helps us get a bit further as a channel to other NUFC supporters. Subscribes, it's totally free. Don't forget to hit that bell for any future content. We do 7 days a week content, so if we upload a video, you will be notified. If you want to support the channel and help us grow, then you can become a member for a very small monthly fee. That'll give you a chance to win a prize at the end of each month, as well as behind the scenes content. Don't forget to check the webpage, nufctalk.tv, for news and content that we get. We update it as and when we can. It's totally ad free. We do it literally just for the love. If you have a question, then put a Q in front of that question in the panel. And like I say, we're on a new format, but I do really rely on my mate, the Mighty Win, to have a quick look at all the chat and put a star to it. So as we go through it, if there's something that's relevant, we will give you a shout out. Apologies if we don't mention everything, but like I say, we'll try and get to as much as we can. But you guys do like to talk amongst yourselves. But again, if you do want to guarantee it, then use the dollar sign. Follow the instructions, and that will guarantee your message read out. All members and new highlighted members will be like, obviously, anything that's gifted towards you guys, because I know you're very kind, will be highlighted and mentioned as we go on. So it is well, for us, it's
Well,
lunchtime after
I'm
the
just
day
looking at
before.
our colleague Mason there. For some reason, I'm in a very happy mood. Well, that's good to know somebody is.
Is that because Ten Hag's been sacked? I mean, there's got to be a reason behind that, Mason. It's a weird one. As I look through the morning news lines to see what's out there and everything else. Now, obviously, the constant run of poor form, poor luck, whichever way you want to look at it, there's always going to be an uprising of um, fans wanting to see the back of managers. And I often look at it and I question it. Um, and as an ex-manager, I suppose, of a lower league club that has been sacked myself, I understand the harmony and the situation that these guys are in, because it doesn't matter what you do, how much time you spend in the classroom, type of thing, on the training field, and everything else. If players just don't go out there with a message. Now, I watched the game. I've watched the game twice. I watched it obviously during the commentary, um, and I wanted to go back because obviously during the commentary you're not looking at where everybody is or everything else. So I wanted to go back and I wanted to have a look at how the squad set up and who was who was at the peak and who wasn't. And like I said, there's a number of issues, and I think it's across the board. And like I said, Wynn's been, constantly called the happy clapper, because he's the glass half full type of supporter. Very similar to myself, but I have always been tried to be as transparent as I possibly could and be as open and honest as I could, even towards our own club. And the question is, obviously, I spoke the other on the other show about, like, managers that often get the sack, um, are often managers that are running at a point a game, or over the many games that they've played. Now, obviously, we've heard this morning that Eric Ten Hag has been sacked, and he was running at 1.2 points. So again, it depends on. Oh, excuse me. It does depend on the current situation that you're in, ownership and things like that. Now, as we're aware, obviously, we are not the Red Cartel or in the Red Cartel's stable. We are a totally different run club. But is it starting to make the lads at the top think of Eddie Howe's stature? And is he still the right man for the job? Well, there's lots of conversations that have been made from news journos, ex-players that have all come on, and the one that caught my attention this morning was the one that Alan Shearer has done in the Chronicle. I don't know whether you've had chance to read this one, Win. Have you had chance to
No,
read
I
the
haven't.
Chronicle? Yeah, right. Well, Alan Shearer's admitted that it's got very messy at Newcastle United following the upheaval at the club in recent months. Um, and he says Eddie Howe was the first to acknowledge that it has taken him and his staff longer than we initially hoped to get the harmony back after the most difficult summer of the Newcastle boss's career. Not only did Newcastle face a very real threat of a PSR breach and points deduction, which unsettled the dressing room and led to the departures of Elliot Anderson and Yakuba Minte. There were huge changes at boardroom level following the exits of part owners Amanda Staveley and Mehrdad Gadusi, and the arrival of a new sporting director and Paul Mitchell and James Bunce, obviously, as the performance director. Then it says Newcastle, who stopped bidding for top targets Mark Gay 7 weeks before the window shut, also ended the summer in profit following the club's most underwhelming window since the takeover 3 years ago. Lewis Hall move from Chelsea was made permanent as expected after certain conditions were met during the defender's loan spell. But Lloyd Kelly is the only one of Newcastle's other four summer additions who have made a league start this season. So, just going off that, now, I did make a comment, and again, we aren't anywhere near um, with the scenes or understand what's going on behind closed doors. We're not in the know regarding whatever's going on at the club. But I did state that any boardroom shuffle, anything that's going on that could potentially leak through the boardroom through to the manager, through to the players. Now, obviously, it's not just the loss of Amanda and Mehrdad. It's also the bad news that come with Darren Eales. Now, again, when somebody's close to the club, Darren Eales was obviously one of the fans' favourites at one point. I mean, there was some criticism when he was dancing on the stage and everything else with our poor performances. But at the end of the day, he is going through quite a difficult time. And as we expected, he's not really been heard of since he came out and exposed his illness. But obviously, this has had a massive effect, a massive impact. These two transfer windows, the upheaval behind the scenes, nothing to do with football, as you would expect regarding playing, but it's had a massive mental shift from whether it's from Eddie Howe going down to the players or whether it's the players themselves. Because to me, there's certainly not the harmony that we had last year or even our best season so far when we finished fourth. The harmony from the team just seems to have gone. And there's still missing jigsaw pieces for me, having watched it again yesterday. Um, I mean, I do apologise, Wim, because I'm rambling on and I haven't really allowed you to have your morning spiel. But what's your thoughts on this now? Now you've had time to think, and the emotive part of the game, watching the game yesterday, has gone, and you're actually working the brain cells rather than the heart cells. How are you? How are you feeling now?
Well, I've watched the game again a couple of times, and you're on about Shearer's article, the one that I hadn't read that article that you're on about, but what I had heard him say, I don't know where it would have been, that basically what he's saying is it's got very messy,
Yeah.
and that's down to the fact, as you've just said, the upheaval behind the scenes. And it's gone from a club where everybody was pulling in the same direction. The feel good factor abounded, and all that sort of thing gives the players a lift and transfers into their performances. Now, this season, before we went on this winless run that we're on at the minute, has been the best start we'd ever had in the Prem.
Yeah.
Even though we were playing crap, we were still getting results. And even on Saturday, when everybody said, we were rubbish, etc., 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 we actually had a higher XG on Saturday than Chelsea did.
Hmm.
Our XG was 1.85 to their 1.68. But the problem which we've had all season is we had 24 touches in their box and 11 shots, but only 3 of those shots were on target. So the problem is the strikers. We are creating the chances and have been creating chances, and that's all the Eddie stuff, the team patterns, the team play to get us into those situations, and we can't finish our dinner.
Mm.
But what I'm annoyed at is that we can see that that's the problem, which is the one piece of the jigsaw that Eddie doesn't seem willing to change when it comes to substitutions. He changes the midfield and he changes the wingers, but he doesn't change the striker
So,
or
so are
change
you
you know, the
the
pattern.
shape of the team?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean,
so when you say that we're creating the chance of give Osula a chance for God's sake.
yeah. I mean, there's a point to. I mean, I was trying to explain the other day the reasons, and I said, I didn't realise that Chris had changed the format of the shows on Friday because I was going to bring in the reasons why I believe that Asula isn't actually making the grade at the moment, and it seems uncanny. And again, I did have it ready to go on Friday, but like everything else, when everything changes, you do lose a little bit of the ground. Now, let me just backtrack a second and try and give you some clarity on where we are now. Everybody keeps on saying to me, Asula, as he obviously looks the part and everything else. Now, the one thing that I've noticed, and I have to praise Kev Lawson for doing a lot of the groundwork here, because this lad does um, often do a lot more of the um, stats and everything else, a lot better than I can do, to be fair. But just for like not an argument's sake, but just so we've got a little bit of clarity on this, I'm just going to try and set this up a little bit now so it looks a little bit decent. Now, as you can see from this statistic alone, right, we've got Asula and Lewis Miley playing totally, so it's playing the same type of games. But as you can see, Lewis Miley at 18 has played more minutes than William Osula. Now, is that Osula's fault? Is that the it just means at the high end of Osula's game, without going on loan, and this is where I start to get a little bit uneasy, if you like, when it comes to um, changing the way we think. When a player is on, is too good to go out on loan, but not good enough to start a game, they become a fringe player. We've all heard the terminology of a fringe player, and if I'm honest with you, what that does is actually put the player in limbo because they're never going to get that competitive football that they require. Um, but they will be held back to try and support their club at some point. Now, we all know that Lewis Miley actually came into the squad under, obviously, the necessity to try and cover injuries. And to be fair, he did really well. But when you're up top and you are 23-year-old that's had a lot less um, a lot less time to become what you expect from the team. And I say that you're playing in a bit part role. You're going to struggle to constantly get the time required. Now, I know that to some people they're going to say, well, that's not necessarily true, and everything else, and you're just taking it on board as being it's just negative. It's not. It's a case of you've got to look at what their requirements are. Now, the one thing Kev Lawson has done, and I'm just going to take that one off for a second and just move us back while I search a little bit further down because there's a couple more here that gives us exactly what I'm trying to say. When you look at the amount of effort that this lad has had, and this is the one I want to put up. So sorry for just rambling on, guys. Bear with me a second because I just need to change this one. And this is what I'm trying to suggest. Now, on this screen here, now you'll see all of William Asula's game time. And what it does, it tells you exactly what's missing and where Osula has struggled regarding minutes. And we keep on seeing him coming on in the 88th minute, like yesterday it was something like 88 minutes. Um, and it was exactly the same through his career because he's been that type of player that shows everything, all what you expect from a player without the finished article. And you go back.
Well, what you got to remember, Gary, is that at Sheffield United, you had a manager there who was fighting for his life, fighting.
Absolutely.
Asula's whole playing time at Sheffield was in that relegation team that couldn't buy a point, never mind a win. And so, you can understand a manager's reluctance to throw an unproven young'un.
Well, you can see literally by these stats. There's only I mean, if you look at the
I
table of
don't
league.
even, I can't, to be fair, Gary, I don't know what those stats are showing.
Well, this is what I'm going to say. If you have a look at the bottom here, it tells you the blue is player on and the red is player off. Let's just work off them, blue and red. Okay. So
Uh,
you can see this goes all the way up to the 5th, so May 24. And as you can see, thrown in at the deep end in Sheffield United, as you were saying, uh, a team facing relegation with a poor system, and everything was a little bit gung ho. And then obviously, again, you look at some of these, it's minutes. They're not consistent with anything. And again, you know, you're
but,
asking the question: Is this
can you
lad?
summarise that, Gary? Because honestly, it doesn't kind of make any. If you've looked at that and which you obviously have and analysed it, Can you
Yeah.
kind of summarise what you've taken from that?
So the blue circles as when he started a game, right?
Yeah, I can
Or when
see.
he's come on as a substitute,
Yeah,
right? And as you can see, he's been thrown in at the deep end a lot of the time. He started a lot of games, as you well quite correctly say, in a poor Sheffield United team. And as you can see here, he's come off a lot of the time when it's not happening for whatever reason. He's come off at half time, before half time in one game,
yeah,
just after half time, and then he's been thrown on right at the end of games where the game is you're chasing a
where they're
game.
chasing, yeah.
Yeah. So he's never had the opportunity to have a long run. Now, for a lad who's come up from the youth level, at the age of 23 now, you would have expected this lad to have been out on loan and having full games to create the player, to mould the player into a centre forward. And we go back to like what I said about Delap. He's exactly the same age as Delap, went for a little bit less money, but quality wise, you look at what Delap's done when he was at Man City, when he was going out on loan, because they knew he was never going to be the player that Man City would look for to be included in their squad. So again, they throw him out on loan. Teams like Sheffield United would see this kid as a fringe player. So they won't throw him out on loan because they'll use him. But what they've done is they've used him in very, very small areas. Again, when you're chasing games, it's very hard for you to change them. And it's been exactly the same at Newcastle. He's a player that will never ever come on as a starter. He will never ever come uh, on the 60th minute because again, he's still very, very raw.
Right, but
And the
what
biggest
I'm saying is he should be. If he's not, we shouldn't have bought him. Simple as.
exactly. And that's my point.
So what I'm saying to Eddie is Eddie obviously sanctioned the move. But by all accounts, I don't know where it came from, but by all accounts, it was Jason Tyndall. I
Yeah,
think
it was Jason Tyndall's.
that it could only have been because Jason Tyndall was at Sheffield when um, Rory was in when Osula was in the juniors or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
the youth team. So that could be where that's come from. But
yeah,
what I'm saying is they've gone for him now. If he's not ready, why haven't we sent him out on loan? Well,
exactly.
presumably because Wilson was
We haven't
injured
got
and
a
we
second
needed him for
striker.
cover. But the
That's
fact
exactly
is,
right.
we've bought him as cover for Isak. So why has he not been playing? For example, when Isak now that put him on and let's see if he's good enough. If he's not good enough, we need to know the way they get rid of him or send him out on loan because he's
Yeah, yeah.
not doing us any good where he is.
No, exactly. And that's the point I'm making.
And
You've got
it
a
doesn't
young
matter how
lad.
many stats you want to throw at that situation. We've went out in the summer, bought him.
Yeah,
At the
yeah,
time, I said he couldn't be anything but an improvement on Parkinson, who was the only other player who looked like he was getting a sniff near the first team. And every time we've seen him in the first team, he's been, not up to standard, shall we say. So give him a shot.
yeah.
Let's see what he can do. I thought he
Absolutely.
looked okay against, I can't remember, it was Brest or Girona, but he looked okay.
Yeah, yeah. I, I, I I mean, I'm not saying he hasn't got the ability. What I'm saying is he's a very, very raw player that hasn't had any chance of being allowed to go out without any pressure on him to go and play at any level on a continuous basis because of this fringe element. Because he has all the tick box exercises, he just hasn't had game time. And this one here, if you have a look at this, um, and again, just to give you for instance, this is obviously Sheffield United against the league average. So this is the Premier League, and these are the type of things that you've got to look at when you look at Sheffield United, which is the red within the percentiles. It's very much on the lesser scale compared to what the league average is. So, your goals, your XG shot range, how many shots you're going to get on target, how many clear cut chances you're going to get are always going to be a lot less. at Sheffield United compared to the rest of the league. And I think this is where, like I say, we've probably made a little bit of a rick for our own good. Now, was it the fact that we had the belief that Wilson was going to be ready? Was it the fact that we gambled on just getting a third striker to come in and sit behind the scenes and get coached by both Isak and Wilson to be like match ready, or even potentially, if Wilson was fit, to actually go out on loan and have minutes out on the side? But I think at this present moment in time, regardless of how we look at this, we've got a lad that has never ever, regardless of wherever he's been able to actually get minutes at anywhere to become the player that we expect him to be. And that's the problem. And it's a shame because all the pressure is on this lad. Um, and I think
Well,
at this
you
present
say it.
moment
You're
in time,
saying all the pressure's on this lad. I don't think the pressure is on this lad.
well, it is.
He's never been put in a position to be under the
No,
pressure.
no, but it's the expectations, though. Everybody is saying, we expect this lad because he's showing all the right in all the right areas. That's why we went and bought him. That's why Mad Dog said, you know what, it's a gamble, but I'm going to go for him because he's showing all the
Right,
right things.
so if he said go for him, smashing, let's have a look at him.
Yeah. Listen, I'm
Give,
not.
given what I'm saying is, given the circumstances that we are in right now, where we are creating chance after chance after chance and not putting them away, give him a chance.
Yeah, yeah. Listen,
And if that
I
means
am not.
taking Isak off, so be it.
Yeah, yeah.
You
And
know,
that,
he's not going to be
and I
very
think,
happy, but, well, if you're not very happy, do something about it. Start performing.
what you've also got to take into consideration in some of again, you look at some of where Osula played for Sheffield United, and again, I've got another little graph coming up on the screen here. You've got a lad who predominantly has played everywhere for Sheffield United, to the point where you're looking at a centre forward, you're looking at him even on the right midfield. Even though it's very very small stints, he's played in right side of centre, left side of centre,
Yeah, but
through
I
the
mean,
centre.
he's centre forward there, isn't he?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that's what I said. But I mean, obviously, they've even thrown him just as a makeshift out on as right midfielder, and that's what I said. When you're looking at continuity, when you're looking at a
right,
player,
well, yeah, okay. So what I'm saying is, yeah, we'll get all of that. But the fact is, that's in the past. Right now, he's a Newcastle player. We've got to decide what we are going to do with him. Forget about what Sheffield United did with him. Forget about his career to date. We've bought him as a centre forward, back up. So let's play him or get rid of him and count our losses before we have to pay whatever the add-ons are, because it was 10 million we paid for him plus add-ons.
you see, this is the situation that you're in now, isn't it? You're looking at a player who isn't at the Premier League standard, right? He's just, again, no fault of his own. He has just got out there and tried to do the best he can for his club, regardless of who he's played for. And that is the problem. And these lads have got the ability to go to a point and stop. Now, again, these are the lads that would have been even Elliot Anderson. Yeah, and I'll class Elliot Anderson at our club. We called him the Geordie Maradona. We all saw that he'd got a little bit behind him, and we knew that he was a lad that potentially could do something. But he was always going to be that fringe player. He was never going to go out on loan, and he was only ever going to get bit time, and I class it as bit time for the club, regardless of who was managing, because it's about opportunities. Now, you're absolutely right. How, in our current situation, has got to make a decision. If Isak isn't the player to get us over the finish line, and again, we questioned yesterday his mentality, what's going on with Isak at this present moment in time. Yes, he scored a simple goal. He didn't have to do anything, but when he created an opportunity to assist a goal, he didn't. Now, there's a lot of questions in the chat, in social media, and on the pundit side now saying if Isak is, and I'm not going to mention the word wanting out, but if Isak's mentality is to the point where he knows there's nobody challenging him for that centre forward position, Eddie Howe's got to make a decision. And Eddie Howe's got to say to himself, you're either on the bench and I'm just going to put this young kid on and give him a go, or we are just going to sit back and try and get Isak back to that mental state of being the one that can not only create goals for himself, but also assist others. And I think at this present moment in time, there is a lot of, when you say there's no pressure on Osula, there's a massive amount of pressure on Osula because every time that kid gets 2 or 3 minutes, you know, all of the crowd base are expecting something. And then
You
again
think so?
yesterday, no, yeah, well, you saw yesterday. There was so many comments coming after us when we were on the
The
chat
only
saying
comments I saw
Osula
was what
never
the
even got a touch of the ball. You know,
yeah. Well, the only comments I saw were, you know, what is the point in bringing him on for 2 minutes? It's a joke. It's an utter joke.
it is an absolute joke. But
So
what
that
I'm
there was
trying to
no
say is,
that's not pressure on Osula. That's pressure on Eddie. That
well, no, it is pressure on
and it's
Osula
self
because
inflicted.
they can hear it. You can see it in the crowd when you're pushing for, and this is what was happening at him at Sheffield United. He was thrown on to try and create something at the tail end of every game, and you can't do that. You're going to get the ball ricochet off your backside or off your knee and go in, and all of a sudden you're the Roy of the Rovers type of situation where you become the hero. I just think it was the wrong option from the start. I thought this lad was going to come in to go straight out on loan and grow a season out before he comes back to then support
Listen, in that
whoever.
window, we weren't in the luxurious financial position of being able to do that, being able to waste 10 million pounds on somebody who's going to go straight out on loan.
Yeah, but you say that, but we did it even though we were in the position. And I'm saying
No,
what
no,
we've
we
got
did
at this
we did
present
it,
moment.
and specifically the reason he didn't go out on loan was because we needed him,
Yeah,
and
because
and
again,
obviously
there's no
they
trust in
thought
Wilson.
Tyndall and Howe thought that he was good enough.
Well, no, they've never said that. What they've said is he's a lad that needs time to become a player that we will look at. That's what they've always said. He's never going to be ready, and it's very much like Hall. When they bought Hall in, they knew that Hall would take time to get Eddie ready, and I think that's the trouble with now with Asula, where with Hall had time to sit in the wings, and all the fan base was saying, "Where's Hall?" and everything else. But because Eddie had, you know, he played Burn at left back, he played others out of position at times to cover Hall, even though he was under a lot of scrutiny himself for playing players out of position. He did it. We haven't got that luxury with Asula. You either have the you're either in the situation or you're not, and that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Asula at this
to
present moment
cut
in
a
time
long
is in.
story short, I think it's down to Eddie. And, this is why I'm gradually moving to the dark side. Because to me, it's apparent what's going wrong right now with our team. We can't finish with dinner. Against Everton and Brighton, 87 touches in the box, 35 shots, an XG of 4, and no goals. That's what the problem is. We're creating it. Everything that he's doing at the back and in midfield is working. We've got at the back. There's no problem. We've got the third best defence in the league. The
You wouldn't
midfield
think that
is
against Chelsea.
creating the chances.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but all I'm trying to say is I can understand why Eddie is reluctant to play Asula from the start.
Well, I can't. You see,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
regardless
You're
of the
looking at it
stats
differently.
and whatever you're saying about pressure and this, that, and the other, he's got to learn to handle pressure. And if he can't, he's no good. Get him out.
Well, Alan Shearer always says pressures for tyres.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
all I'm saying to you is this lad is 2 seasons behind even the likes of Miley at 18. And I think that is how poor this lad has been handled in his other parent
Exactly.
clubs.
So I'm
And
not
and
I'm
I
not
think that's the
blaming the
problem.
kid. And by the way, I'm not saying he's going to be an Alan Shearer. I don't know, but I want to see if he can.
Yeah, I understand, and this is the frustration. When
And
you've got
putting
a
him on
front.
for 2 minutes is not going to show her that.
No, 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 exactly. But this is where Eddie's got to start making a decision. If he
Correct.
doesn't think that Isak is good enough or in the correct mental states to be a front man, the only option he has got at this current moment in time is Osula. So,
But with that, listen, I'll say it right now. With Eddie's 4-3-3, which he appears to be wedded to, Isak is no good as our sole striker. You can't do it.
no.
He's the wrong sort of player. So if that's the case, sell him, get a fortune, and let's get a proper striker in who would fit in with the system, a la Callum Wilson.
You see, this is the current situation, though, isn't it? You look at Isak's performances over the last few games, and are you going to get a fortune for
And
him?
before that, before he was injured, he's
Oh,
been rubbish
absolutely.
all season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's not come with the will at all,
I don't know.
compared
I
to what
don't know
we've
if
seen.
it's the will. It's the way he plays, and our system does not suit the way he plays.
Well, when you say that, like you look at the system that we played yesterday, which was very much as we went last season, and I think that's where we were found out again. We went on the high press, which is what everybody's been asking for, and we were completely found out massively.
Yeah, and here's the thing: we're completely found out because what a lot of people, including myself, have been saying for, for a long time is that the one thing that's missing in our back four is pace at centre half.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, what did Eddie try to do in the summer? He tried to fix that.
Yeah.
He tried to get Gay, who's got the pace, and what he also did was bought Kelly. And the one thing Kelly's got is pace. We've hardly seen Kelly. He was
Oh,
another summer signing who we haven't seen.
yeah, yeah. Well,
You
we've
know, now
seen him,
he's
but
on a
we've played
free,
him at
but he's
left
on
back.
150 grand a week, as everybody keeps on pointing out, even though that's a distorted figure, as I keep on pointing out. But
And
give him
and
a
that's
go.
well, that's what I'm
That
saying.
was the one thing that caught us out yesterday was pace at centre back. Both their goals due to lack of pace at centre back. Give
Yeah,
Kelly a
yeah.
go, even if that means dropping my man. Drop him. Give it a try.
But I mean, it was quite evident yesterday when you look at where how we tried to set up and everything else, and this was another point that I wanted to come to, if you like, because I couldn't understand, um, for the life of me.
Oh, I don't like the look of this.
Oh, it's all right. It's only a picture. It's nothing else. Um, but if you look at this now, and look at where we are set up now. Again, I can only assume what Eddie wanted to do was go onto the high press and try and create what we used to before. Now, again, you've got Harvey Barnes obviously looking at the fullbacks, well, the centre backs. You've got Miggy out here. You've got Isak on the other fullback. And I keep on saying where we got turned over yesterday was the passing channels. Now, we all know that obviously Byrne was looking after Nicholas Jackson. And as you can see now, the passing channel is wide open to him. You'd got, again, just by moving into space, Palmer's just brought Shaw across. So he's on the other side of the halfway line. They've pulled us so wide, and they're playing like literally a 4-2-4 in this current situation. And we've all gone man to man. And this is where, and both me and you said, Sanchez isn't the world's best at distribution with his feet. In fact, I think he's behind Pope. So if one of these lads, I class it as Barnes, would have put into this area here to stop this channel ball from happening, we wouldn't have been turned so many times. And it happened over and over and over again yesterday. And that's what I kept on saying. Every time you go man to man, touch tight, there's lots of room for Palmer to pick the ball up if they dink it over. This half space that we've got between
Well,
our
the
midfield
whole point there is that
and
there's
four.
nobody touch tight on Palmer.
Well, that's how clever Palmer is. He's just pulling Shaw and Shaw further and further away because you've got no recovery run behind for Nicholas Jackson to turn burn. And that was again, it's about having that mentality to say, well, if you're going to mark me, follow me. And if you're that mentality where you go, you know what, you carry on walking, I can only go so far, then that's what you've got to do. But it's like here, if that ball, which is where Jackson just did the one touch round the corner, and we were all then just trying to get back, to stop the goal from happening, he had a clear run at our defensive line, and then you'd got two fast wingers making them channeled runs in behind, which kept us wide the entire time. What we've got to do when we go man to man is stop the passing channels. We can't just be,
But he
man
can't
to
do
man.
both.
No, it's impossible. And that's why I think yesterday, the one thing that I do think, and again, people are going to look at this and say, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. I do think Eddie needs to look at his midfield. At this present moment in time, the midfield aren't. I often say it, everybody's argued with me. Your midfield is what opens the doors for the forward line. It also closes the doors for the defence. As you can see in this clip that I've just put on the screen there, they're not supporting the back full at all. Yes, they're supporting the attack, but when you go so close, and like I keep saying, you're supposed to be half the distance from the ball being passed to the player so you can close the thing down. When you go high and press the ball like this, when you haven't got that recovery person at the back that can get back to stop the counter attack, you are putting yourself under so much pressure. And Eddie adopted this tactic to try and win the ball back as high as we possibly could up the field, and unfortunately, they turned us every time. And I mean, there was one point where we got turned, where sorry, where we got turned with where their first goal come from, and it was Palmer who went into that deep pocket of space, drawing players to him. And again, I don't know whether you saw it when, as you've seen the game back, a rerun. Did you see the defenders having given Bruno a rollicking?
Yeah, yeah.
And also going over to Howe and saying, we need some support from these
Mm.
guys. Because again, it looked like they were so much more willing to go forward with the ball, but not willing to come and check back. And again, we all know that Bruno, Tonali, and even J7 are one paced. None of them have got that sprinting ability to recover. So it's not just us up top that have got a problem. It's that recovery running into the half spaces where we've also got a problem. I think we've got a good team. I don't think we've got a great team. And I think the team that we have got going back 2 seasons that got us into the Champions League, unfortunately, have got older, they've got slower, and they're becoming very predictable. And again, Maraska did a cracking job on us yesterday because he knew if we did the high press, one outlet, and it was either Palmer or Nicholas Jackson that received the ball on the half turn, and the entire team was turning, running back towards our own goal. And it was really good management from Maresca. And that's my point. I think the midfield, there needs to be a change. And you can say to me, why does he take off Tonali? Why doesn't he take off another player? I don't know whether, you know, at this present moment in time, whether J7 is the all singing, all dancing. There doesn't seem to be anybody that understands what a six does. Nobody understands whether I should be
Because
playing a
Eddie
six or
doesn't
an
want to
eight.
play with a six.
No, but when you get a player that's sitting in that hole and then becomes our number 10, because that's what Bruno was doing. Yesterday, Bruno was the 6, 8, and a 10. Tonali was a 6 and an 8. and sometimes the winger. At this present moment in time, in this fluid system, there doesn't seem to be enough idea of what or where to play. And I think it's just creating confusion. We all go forward. Now, here's one. And don't get me wrong, I love Tonali. I think Tonali's an amazing player. And I think he's going to be better as time goes by. In training, all of the keepers say, and this is fact, when Tonali shoots, it stings your hands. I haven't seen him take a shot for Newcastle yet. Not one. He's great at getting the ball and playing the first time. We've all said, wow, what a brain that lad's got. He sees the pass and he delivers the pass. Not an issue. But when you're looking at getting creative from midfield, I've yet to really see him put a ball through to the forward line. He plays everything square. He plays everything short. Never looks for the percentage ball over the top. And there's a part of me that agrees with that. But there's also a part where you're struggling to create and score goals where he has to step up and start making the shots. He needs to start creating. We don't get enough from midfield. The only person that I saw having a go from outside the box from our three yesterday was Bruno. Obviously, J7 was trying to get into the box and make things work. And people are now saying, is if Gordon isn't in the side, should J7 still play on the left wing? Because he seems to be a lot more involved in play from the left side from the left wing rather than left-sided midfielder. There's a lot of questions out there at the minute on who should be playing where. And when you're 9 games into a season and you're still not creating from midfield, you're still not blocking the channel runs from midfield, have we got too many players of the same ilk? That's my question to you.
What I'm saying is, which I've said already, and I'll repeat, we know we've never had pace in the defence, but we still managed to defend well. For example, yesterday, uh, Pope had one of his, apart from letting that bloody Palmer goal in at his near post, which was unforgivable. He came out of his box twice yesterday, very, very well. Sweeper keeper. He made a couple of fantastic saves again. So I think we can get away with that defence. I still would like to see Kelly in it now, because the way we're playing, in order to create all of these chances that we're creating, it does obviously mean leaving the defence to a certain degree exposed. So you need pace there, and as Byrne showed yesterday twice, he just, God bless him, he hasn't got that natural. Once he's actually up and running, he can cover the ground, but for him to get started takes a half a second. So you could try something there, but I'm quite happy with the defence, really, given what we've got available. The
I just think we
midfield,
are far too
I don't.
exposed.
The midfield for me picks itself. J7, Bruno, Tonali, that is as good as any midfield in the country, as far as I'm concerned. But it's how you play them.
I agree with you. On paper, they are literally when you look at it, um,
The
and
problem we have is trying to accommodate Isak into that system.
do you think that's the problem?
I'm convinced that's the problem,
Okay.
because
Well,
he's just the wrong type of striker for us to play that system at the minute. When we had all our success 2 years ago, Wilson was there as well, and it was Wilson that got the lion's share of the goals that year.
yeah, yeah. So here's a stat. Like this is obviously last season compared to this season. Um, Obviously, last season we were, you know, 2.24 goals, fourth ranked. Now this season we are one. Um, and it's 16th. And this is a few days ago, by the way. This isn't a new one. So I'm just trying to give you where we were from last season, playing 4-3-3, same situation, and the only player really that's changed, I suppose you can say that Harvey Barnes has come into the side and Tonali's come into the side because last season, they weren't in the squad because of injury and suspension. So bringing two players in that you would say are of a better quality than what we had last season. You look at the difference in where we are. So we were having 14.5 shots on average, which got us sixth in the table. This season we are at 12.8 and we are 13th in the table. Big chances created, 3.5, first in the league on Premier League ranked. This season, 22.1 at 15th. Shot conversion rate. Now, this is what you were saying about being up top. 15.4, first again last season. This season, 7.8, 15th. Now, like I said, you can point your finger at a number of different things of the reasons why it's happening and what's changed. What I can't fathom, if I'm honest, is why it's taken um, to bring in our better players um, that were suspended and injured last season, and for some unknown reason, it's gone south. We haven't changed anybody. It's still exactly the same team trying to work on a system that obviously Eddie's tried to tweak rather than the high press. Now, has he tweaked that because of Buds? I don't know. Has he tweaked that because all the players are a year older and a little bit slower to recover? I don't know that either. But there's certainly a change in the entirety of our midfield to the forward line where we aren't creating as many goals. We certainly not what we are definitely creating. We're not putting away. So surely that you can't tell me that over a season, all of these six players from the midfield to the forward line have dropped in quality because they haven't. You can't tell me that our forward line, apart from obviously not being match fit, and you can class it as that, and a very small injury to our pinnacle player with Isak up front, has changed massively. But what is the excuse then from last season? Because to me, there's it's just the fact that we've got nobody actually challenging for positions.
Let's see what everybody else is seeing.
So it'll be interesting to see where where we go from here. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because at this present moment in time, I am struggling.
Chelsea done their homework on Pope yesterday. Doesn't come for crosses and panics with the ball at his feet. Well, all I would say about Pope yesterday is you're saying doesn't come for crosses. Every punch he did yesterday, instead of trying to catch it, cleared the lines, which is what they're meant to do. He came out of his box twice successfully, which is unusual for him. And by the way, saved Bacon again, covering for the lack of speed of the centre halves. We haven't been able to sign anyone in 2 windows because of PSR, while everyone else around us has spent way more than double we have. Why are we focusing on Eddie and not the bent rules against us? Well, that's an ongoing theme, that, James, me boy.
Right, just stay there for a second, Win, on what we've spent. I've just got a couple of examples here. Now, obviously, we've spent very little, as we know, in the transfer window, and at one point, with the PSR ruling, was very close to having points deducted. Now,
And can you imagine
Chelsea,
if we'd had 10 points deducted now?
oh, absolutely,
Because there was a
yeah,
few people at the time saying, why don't we
wanted it,
just tell
yeah,
them to
yeah.
piss off and take the 10 points?
Absolutely. Now look at this. I looked at this yesterday. Chelsea. These are all euros, by the way, not pounds. 238 million. This is spent over the last transfer window. Man United, 214 euros. Arsenal, 108 million. Spurs, 148 million. West Ham, 144. Villa, 176. Brighton, 231. Fulham, 91 million. Now, these are all teams, what you class, apart from a couple, as the halfway men, very much like ourselves, vying for those last couple of Euro slots, as well as the top 10, if you like, in order. When teams around us are spending that type of money, it just that's one of the big reasons I think why we have stepped backwards rather than forwards, because I've said before, we've gone very stale regarding the squad.
Well, you know my thoughts on on FFP.
Oh, I know.
Jordan. Hello, Jordan. Mighty win. Ten Hag has been sacked, so how can Eddie not be? He won 2 trophies at Man U. Eddie's won nothing, and we are 2 points ahead of them. Big club mentality needed. Well, as Gary's just pointed out there, Man United spent, you know, countless millions more than we've spent. Oh, that's that one. Daniel Graham, hello Daniel. Eddie Howe clearly doesn't do his revision on teams he's up against because he just keeps the same players, same tactics, same formation, same results. Uh,
Interesting one from yesterday. We saw Bruno go clear, and Fofana bring him down on the edge of the box. Um, and we said, oh, obviously it's not going to be looked at VAR because it's not inside the box, so it'll be whatever the referee rules. And the referee ruled it wasn't even a foul. And having watched the game again, and I was listening to the pundits, both Roy Keane and Theo Walcott thought it was a goal scoring opportunity, therefore it should have been a red card. It was an interesting one.
yeah, very, very well. Again, I hate to blame Lady Luck, but
Yeah, yeah.
we're not getting a lot of it. But you could argue that we got our share yesterday with their marginal offside, and there was a couple. But the referee again was just
Wasn't
totally
great, was he?
not blaming the referee, but we need a proper number 6, a right winger, and an out and out striker. Well, I think Johnny, we all agree with that. But for a start, Eddie doesn't want to play with a number 6, and we can't afford a right. Allegedly, we can't afford. I think it's bollocks, but never mind. Is it Eddie's fault on transfers? You had Nixon with a list of targets. Was Mitchell happy with them, or PIF not willing to sign off? Jamie's gone quiet since Amanda left the club. That's Rubens. I'm assuming he's on about there.
Well, Jamie wasn't really a forefront of the behind the
No,
scenes
he's
person anyway.
definitely a sleeping partner, as it were.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So that's all of them already started. Let's go back to Shaw, see if there's been any since. What time are we at here? Jody Tune for life. I'm how in, but I just wish he would change against the bigger teams away from home. With either 5-3-2 or 4-2-3-1, especially with Gordon missing with injuries. Our midfield has no positional discipline. Again, you see what the point I'm making is that our midfield is doing what it's there to do, to create chances, and we're creating the chances. Now, it's interesting that Longstaff, who I accuse of not picking men up, and Gary O saying that, for example, if Longstaff had been there yesterday, he may have closed that channel down that the ball went through to look as though he's doing nothing, but he's stopping that ball going through. I still can't believe that Sean Longstaff is the solution to our problems.
No, 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 no,
I just
neither can I.
can't believe it.
Neither can I. But what I'm trying to say to you is, when you look at the quality of our squad, right? And I keep saying this. When you look at before, when we hadn't got the Tonali available. We hadn't got Barnes available. We had a very limited squad to a point, and everybody worked for each other. What it looks like to me now is the fact that there's lads that are going out on that park that aren't working for each other. That's what it looks like to me. Everybody's been given a task to do, and everybody's doing a very, very similar role. Now, you question our midfield. Now, I looked at our midfield yesterday, and we've got three box to box midfielders. Nobody's got a designated role. Everybody's got an attacking role. Everybody's got a defensive role. But when you're all doing the same thing, you've got no cover. And it was time and time again yesterday. You saw the half turn from Chelsea, whether it be Palmer, Nicholas Jackson, or whoever, one ball through the middle, put us through like a hot knife through butter. And that to me serves a problem. We were, even though we were having a similar issue last season because we were limited with the personnel that we'd got to choose from. This season, we've got a, a bigger pool to pick from. I'm not saying the quality is there. I'm just saying you've got a bigger pool to pick from. And when you've got, and I keep saying to it, and I'll go back to the game before against Brighton, dominated the team. And you can go back a couple of games. Again, the best 11 you can pick from on the field, apart from obviously Anthony Gordon with his groin injury yesterday, and we're not creating enough clear-cut opportunities, as Isak will say. Chris has said before, Isak's trying to create his own little bit of glory. Um, for me, what I'm seeing at this present moment in time is Eddie being forced to make a change. He doesn't want to make a change. And if you had a look at his post-match interview, he actually states that. When it comes to a point where you have to make a change to try and change the game situation, when you're bringing in the likes of Longstaff, and we've all said it, and I'm going to go to a Willock as well, you're expecting or wanting to see something change, and it's not. It's literally on the same keel. They're not. We're not creating any more going forward. We're not creating any more chances. And it's like I said, all of the team in midfield seems to be of a similar ilk. And that's where, to me, you've got to make a decision. You either make a decision where you play one as a more advanced midfielder, and you have two what I class as really good technical players, the likes of Tonali and Bruno. Not playing, you don't have to play them as a direct six, but you could play them just as the playmakers and just allow somebody then, the likes of Willock, to go and sit in that half space like Palmer did yesterday and create something from that. Because what you're doing then is you're making the opposition make a decision. At this present moment in time, we have far too many players play exactly the same. And
Which
for
is
any
what Peter
opposition manager,
McCardle
it's
is
easy.
saying there. Hello, Peter. We have become boring and predictable. Same formations, same subs, also bad in game management. It all leads back to Eddie. Next 4 games will decide his future. Well, that's true. Now, in fact, it was very, very noticeable yesterday that the Toon away fans were booing when Tenali was substituted for Longstaff. Audibly booing. And that to me wasn't so much booing Longstaff as booing Eddie for making that same old predictable same time substitution. And Eddie was asked about that after the game, and he said, "I understand supporters love Sandro and want to see him stay on the pitch, but every decision I make is, in my eyes, to the benefit of the team, and also with a view on the horizon and the games we have to come. I think Sandro can only do his bit and influence the game so much. I don't think Sandro can do his bit and influence the game so much that he becomes indispensable to the team. I think there's more to come from him." Well, with regard to more to come from him, the the one thing which you just mentioned earlier on was he's got an absolutely formidable shot, and we haven't seen it.
Well, you have seen it. You have seen it. You saw it in the first game against Aston Villa. Has he reproduced that since then? No.
Well,
And
I don't think he had a particularly ferocious shot against Aston Villa. He scored and he got in the right places for
that's what I'm
that. But
saying.
yeah,
He
yeah,
was
but
the
he,
only one at the mid three that was trying to break a neck to get into those half spaces. And like I said, and that's the difference when the team is playing together. You know, it brings out that extra 5%. And at this present moment in time, what it looks like to me, and again, please, anybody else out there that has seen something different to me, it does seem to me as if we're playing within ourselves. It's about making that taking the opportunity to make the gamble and run into the box and get into spaces, the half spaces. It's proven the fact that even though, we have still got the same squad, you can go back and like I say, we've all said, the first few games we were lucky to get points on the table. And when we've dominated games, we've come away with absolutely nothing. You know, there's nothing that Eddie has changed regarding the first three games to the last three games, the ones that we were highlighting the other day where we've dominated play. What has changed for me is actual individuals. I don't think the individuals are pushing themselves and expressing themselves to the point where they are creating something from themselves. So it's like I said, Tonali has played very much in what I call the middle third. He doesn't go into the box. He doesn't come into our box. He plays in the middle third. Bruno, another one, doesn't go into the box, doesn't come into our box unless he's tracking back. Again, plays in the middle third. The only player out of our mid three that is trying to get into the box and create something on the inside left position is J7. And again, he is not the best technical player that we've got, and he never will be. You're never going to get that, you know, 70-yard aerial ball from J7 because that's not the player he is. You've got them players in Bruno and Tonali. And what I'm saying to you is when you look at Tonali in the first game of his, of his Newcastle debut, he was all over the park. He wanted to get in, he wanted to get into the box. He was the man running from deep to get his goal. We haven't seen that at all in this season. Now, again, is he playing with a little bit of guilt in his mind? Is he playing with a bit of conscience? Because obviously he's trying to make up for what he didn't give us last season. I'm not sure, but it's certainly not the player that I saw in the first game of his debut.
well, I thought J7 was one of our best players on Saturday. I thought he had a great game.
I, I mean, I don't think anybody had a really, really poor game. As in, we made mistakes at the back, we made mistakes at the front. But again, would them mistakes at the back have happened if we had midfield three that was supporting the back line?
Well,
And again,
you can't have it both ways. On the one hand,
that's
you're
what
saying they should be getting making runs into the box, and on the other hand, you're saying we should be supporting the back four. You can't have it both ways.
that's what I said. But then you work out the system, don't you? Because if you've got three players that play
Right. So
exactly
so
the
now we're
same
back to
way,
Eddie.
well, you are back to Eddie in a way that Eddie has brought these players in and played them in a position. What I'm trying to say is when you've got, when you've got three players that play very much the same way, Eddie has tried to make a change by, player for player, Longstaff for Tonali, because and again, Longstaff's more of a box to box player. But with Longstaff, as we saw last season, he gets 8 goals. Now, at this present moment in time, I don't see Tonali scoring a goal. And that's the situation, what I keep saying, Eddie is in. When your mid three aren't creating or aren't trying to push to get a goal or even get shots off on target. There was only Bruno yesterday that was trying to get a shot off. which was getting blocked from 22 yards. I didn't see Tonali have a shot on goal yesterday. I saw J7 try, but like I say, he plays in that inside left position the majority of the time on a train track. So you get one player marking J7 throughout the game, and he's out the game because he doesn't vary from that position. When he went out to the left wing, he seemed to come into the game a little bit more. And that's what I'm saying, because obviously you've got players in our squad now, and we've seen this. Willock, we've tried Willock on the right side of midfield. Doesn't appear in the game whatsoever. We've tried, if you remember when we used to have Anderson and Willock both play in that inside left position of midfield, both very similar to J7, only can play in certain parts of the park. And I think that is where Eddie has his hands tied. We
Right. Well,
haven't got enough players in the
I've
middle of
just
the park.
got Tonali's stats up for AC Milan.
Yeah,
He played 130 games and was widely regarded as one of the best players. But doing whatever he was doing at AC Milan that made him the darling of the crowd, he only scored 7 goals in
yeah,
130 games.
yeah. Because
And
he was the one who
but
was.
he had 13 assists.
Yeah, he's the creator, isn't he? That's what I'm saying. You've got to ask the question of the three midfielders of what job you want them to do. And I think that's where Eddie Howe is trying to probably get them. Again, going back to what everybody was saying, we want to get them high press, we want to get in there, but we are so vulnerable on the counter attack. Yesterday, both goals came from a counter. And again, you've got to ask yourself for the second goal, why Shaw didn't close down Palmer, and he was just backing off and backing off, and he allowed him to take a shot on. Now, some people will point the finger at Popey for not saving that at his near post. I mean, come on, he should never have had the shot on. If you look at it from, there's no way any defender would allow a player to run into the box onto his strongest foot and take a shot at goal. And again, it's this indecision, it's the indecisiveness, and when games aren't going your way, this is what happens because you're not free of mind. You're under pressure, and that's what I keep saying about when you were saying about Osula being under no pressure. Every single player on that park, from what we have seen on a repeat, is under a lot of pressure because they're indecisive of what they want to do. But it's just crazy. When you're on mute, I can't hear you, buddy. When you're on mute, I've lost you. We can't hear you. I don't know what's happened, my friend.
Try that. Right. Let's
Oh, there
try
you go.
again.
You're
Can you
back
hear
on.
me
You're
now?
back on. Yeah, you're back on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's basically Alan saying the slow midfield, which there isn't any massive
There's no
pace there.
pace there.
No.
There's no
Mighty
recovery, and that's why I said
Mag.
you're playing very much into the opposition's hands.
Aye, disappointing few games, but can see us getting through on Wednesday. That's what I like. Glass half full.
Yep.
Tim the Twin. I'd love someone to ask Howe if he targeted other strikers, and if not, why not? It feels like Howe was happy with Isak and Wilson, and even Gordon at centre forward. Yeah, I think you're right, Tim. Darren Lee. Should we move to more of a 4-2-3-1 setup against Chelsea and Arsenal to cut out the huge gaps in midfield?
Yes.
Well, this is
We've
again.
been
This
saying
is
it from day one, haven't we?
we're down to Eddie again.
Yeah. It's all the decision making.
PDK. If Osula ever starts a Prem game, I'm dragging Howe out of the club myself.
Love it.
I wasn't got a plan B. Yep. Brings on slows virtually at the same time. 50 plus corners without a goal. Who's training set pieces? There was about 4 of them crowded around arguing who should take it. Poor. Well, I mentioned that at the time, didn't I?
You did.
It's ridiculous. We've got a free kick in a position. This should be automatic. They should be doing free kick drills from various places on the pitch all the time. and they should know immediately what's going to happen, which then puts you in the position of being able to do it quickly.
Mm.
If the whole team can see where the free kick is, and the whole team know what we do from that free kick, they can get into those positions quickly. We can take it quickly and catch the opposition unaware. When you've got 4 players round the ball arguing who's going to take it,
Mm.
it's
It's mad, isn't
pathetic.
it? Yeah, it is. It's
Set
mad.
set pieces is one of our greatest weaknesses. You
Well,
put
you saying that, buddy, we are top of the league. I don't know whether you've seen it on set pieces. There you go. It's not a great one to have top of the league on.
but bottom of the league is what you mean.
Well, we're top of the league because we've had the most corners and scored nothing.
Yeah, which makes
Uh,
we're bottom of the league. We're the worst.
but it is mad, isn't it? When you are creating all of, but again, this just goes to prove win right now. You look at apart from Southampton, who are quite good to get up to the final third, if I'm honest with you. They're not great anything from the final third, as we've seen against us, down to 10 men. Um, but they do create a lot of opportunities and get into the half spaces. A lot of selfish running into the areas. But look at the teams around us again, and this goes to prove why I keep on saying I am not an Eddie Howe person, because you wouldn't be on this amount of corners if you weren't trying to get into the right positions. At this present moment in time, we're having a lot of shots blocked. Look at Chelsea; they put a lot of bodies on the line. If we were
Yeah,
nowhere near
Chelsea
this,
defended very well yesterday.
they
This is
did.
why
They
the
did.
XGs were what they were, because the number of blocks that they put in crucial areas, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I am not. I'm not going to sit here and say that you know, there's they're not trying hard, because they are trying hard. You can see what they're trying to do. The problem is it's just not coming off. And that's the problem that we have got at the moment. And you know, like I said, it just proves that we are getting into the final third and creating something because of the amount of corners that we've got. The problem is from corners we look absolutely awful.
Oh, well, somebody else agreed we're going to get a result on Wednesday. I have my house, cat, and dog on Chelsea on Wednesday, I'm afraid.
On Wednesday.
Oh, sorry, that's Alan disagreeing with. He's got his house on Chelsea. How are Alan, man? Gary, when your manager listens to his free kick and set piece coach for a new striker who was sacked by Bournemouth for being a shocking manager, that's why Mitchell should have full control of signings. Well, that's one argument. Oh, Pierre, we've got the gaffer in.
Hey.
Isak is one of the worries, but not the main. What about the defence? It's horrid. No one expects nothing for Osula other than we hope he does well. And Isak is the starter regardless. Well, that's part of the problem, though, isn't it?
I still
The
think,
problem is not Isak. He is the starter. Simple. Our whole team is a disaster, man. Other than the midfield, and Eddie likes breaking the midfield after the 65th minute, so we are not a good team.
it's nice.
Alan,
Like I
lads,
say,
you are both highlighting that our recruitment over the last 2 windows has been a disaster. Absolutely, it has.
well,
Roger Cook. When
it's just
if he
go on.
fundamentally isn't Prem ready, there'd be no point in starting him. We've been short of another forward for years. Still are. I agree. Tim the Twin. So what's the point in getting Kelly if you're not going to play him when you want a high line? Yeah, but, this is what I'm saying. We bought Kelly specifically because of his pace, plus his ability to play 2 positions, but predominantly because of his pace.
Yeah, yeah.
Surely Kelly can't be any worse than what we've seen yesterday, but Eddie Howe loyalists will get in the way and give Sherburn another 90 minutes on Wednesday. Well, there's no bigger proponent of Dan Burn than me, but I say let's give it a shot, because what we're doing right now isn't working. Uh, to me, every team and every team performance is governed by midfield. And there's nobody going to tell me that our best midfield is not J7, Bruno, and Tonali. So we know from everything that's gone so far this season that we are creating chances, da. The problem is we're letting goals in, and you could argue that the midfield have a responsibility there, but we're not letting goals in at an alarming rate. You know, we're still right up there in terms of the best defence in the league. So and by the way, the goals we do let in predominantly revolve around lack of pace, which were highlighted from the very start of the season. So let's put Kelly in there and see if he can do the business. That's the way I look at it. Sparky D, hello there. Chelsea done their homework on Pope yesterday. Oh, we've already done that one. James again. We haven't been able to sign anyone in 2 windows. We've got a PSR, whilst everyone else around us spent way more than double we have. Yeah, well, Gary had the figures for that not so long ago. Daniel Graham, hello Daniel. Eddie Howe clearly doesn't do his revision. I think we might have had that one as well. Darren Lee. Is it Eddie's fault on transfer? Oh no, we've already done that one as well. Wow. All right, that's the lot. What's come in since then? Let's have a look.
It's really weird, because I saw everybody, and I heard everybody slating Murphy the other day and his performance. Now, obviously, yesterday, just to give a little bit of context to our current situation, and again, you have to point the finger at Howe for going long and hard for Gahey for a month, if you like. Now, obviously, yesterday we had Miggy on, who had obviously touches. He had 19 touches throughout his time on the field. His pass accuracy was 62%. He only completed 8 out of 13. He only had one won duel in 4. He lost possession of the ball 6 times, and created absolutely nothing for us. And it's all this, when you look at it, this is for me by far the fundamental part of where we are struggling. If I'm honest, because and this is why I said, and this is why I always think that Tonali is probably a little bit frustrated and doesn't get himself in positions because every time he supports Tino Murphy, Tino Almiron on that right hand side, it seems to be failing, and it's failing miserably. Now, we both said yesterday, I love Tino going forward, but I do think he's vulnerable in defence. His quality for our goal was second to none, running from the right back to the left wing position or the left inside left position was outstanding. The way he gave and given goals multiple times to get across there himself. Um, but I still think our right hand side is the most vulnerable point um, going forward and in defence. By far, for me, yesterday, Lewis Hall was our man of the match. I gave him an 8 out of 10 behind the scenes. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay with you lads because I had visitors that appeared without me knowing yesterday, so I had to go downstairs and have a chat with them. But for me, by far the man of the match. But Miggy was so by far the worst player on the park because of what he didn't give us, and that's the frustrating point, you know. And I think that's why a lot of players or a lot of people, I've seen a couple in the chat that are saying, well, we know you guys are both Eddie in people, and can you give me a reasons why Eddie should remain in post? Now, I can't give you an exact figure. I've gone through the reasons why I say managers get the sack, and at the really elite clubs, the likes of Man U. Now we've seen that Ten Hag's got the sack because his return is 1.2 points, and usually it's when when they drop down to 1 point a game. That's when you usually get managers into under a lot of pressure. Now, at the minute, Eddie's dropped from 1.5 to 1.3 with this loss against Chelsea. So is he under massive pressure? Well, I think the only pressure that he's under is from the fans. I don't think he's under any pressure from the board or anything else. And that's what I said. He's, pressure comes from a lot of his own, and again, pressure from the fans, I believe, has come from his own doing. One is his relationship with Mitchell wasn't great, which I think has stalled the recruitment a little bit. I mean, Mitchell's been absolutely outstanding, getting in players for the academy and the women's team and everything else. He supported them superbly well. But I think the relationship going forward, and again, has this been a detrimental effect to the team? Potentially. I think what Eddie has done with the recruitment of trying to get Gay in over that period has took our highlights or our eyes away from the vulnerable areas, and that is right wing. If we could get somebody to play on that right wing consistently and have a consistent game, I think the chances we create would not double, but it would be a lot better than what we are creating with both Murphy and Miggy, both vying for them 2 places. Um, you know, I keep saying it, the one person for me, if you're not gonna play Barnes or Gordon on that right-hand side, then, we've got a couple of lads on the bench, for me. I'd even have a go at for Willock, to go and play up there because he would give us something more than both Murphy or um, Miggy has given us at this present moment in time, which is very little, apart from losing the ball on a consistent basis. So if you're looking at me saying, do I want Eddie out with what he's got? I don't think I do. No, because I just think at this present moment in time, and yes, I do blame Eddie for this because of the relationship that he's not had. And like I said, I think he brings it on himself. But I do think if we can bring in a couple of players in the January window that can support that right wing role, I think you'll see a different Newcastle.
Well, this is the point. Again, we've been through it before. What what is the situation behind the scenes? I've said from the start, if we are not within touching distance by Christmas, Eddie should go. A lot of people are saying he should have the full season, but the point is, we're going to be we've definitely got money to spend in January. Do you back Eddie with that money? I'm not totally averse to that. Or do you say, no, Eddie, you've taken us as far as you can. We're getting somebody else in, and then let them have the lions, the biggest say in who's brought in. You can argue, how will he know, if he hasn't been working with them, and all that sort of thing. But surely any manager worth their salt, who is worth replacing Eddie for, would be aware
Mm.
of everything that we've got, and will be doing his homework. Unless we're going to go. I mean, here's the thing, right? Conspiracy theories abound. Let's
With
assume, as I believe, that if Eddie goes, the glaringly obvious replacement by Paul Mitchell, whose job it will be to identify, as director of football, it's his job to identify the new coach. With the work that Pochettino has done in the past with Mitchell at both Southampton so successfully and at Spurs till he fell out with Levy, he is the outstanding candidate.
mm,
And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Mitchell's already been in touch with him, even though he's doing his job at the US men's national team, to be saying, look, there's a chance here. Make sure you are up and ready to go if called upon. And so Pochettino has got everything to look at that we all look at here, and he'll be able to see where the deficiencies are in his mind, what he needs to address those deficiencies, and he'll be in conversation with Paul Mitchell, saying, right, so I think this, if we do that, can we get this guy? And Paul Mitchell probably have his input, saying to him, look, I've identified X, Y, and Z. I've given those options to Eddie, and he's turned them down. What do you think? And all these sort of conversations are going on. So the bottom line is, it's up to Eddie to get his system up and firing, so that he's in a position to turn round in December and say to the board, look, this is what I need to get us into the Champions League.
Mm.
Are you going to back me, or are you not going to back me? And then it's up to the hierarchy.
But I think when you're looking at the likes of Brighton, the way Brighton work, and you know I don't know how long it takes Brighton to source that next manager in line. They seem to do it very efficiently anyway. Um, whether we would take on board that type of system, I don't know. Or whether you look at Man U where they've sacked Ten Hag this
I'm,
morning,
I'm just laughing at Foxy here, Gary. Uh, Wynn thinks Poch is going to leave the US national team before the 26th World Cup. You gotta love Wynn's comedy segment.
Well, it's like I said, you've got to, if you're going to make these rash decisions, you've got to have, something coming in. Now we know Van Nistelrooy apparently he's now going to be the interim manager at Man United. So is that a knee jerk reaction? You know what I mean? And that's what worries me because I'm not saying. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've said it before. What you get with new managers coming in is what they call the 5% impressive standard, and that's for over a period of games, 4 or 5 games. You will get an increase in points, but 9 times out of 10, them points or those points go back to normal once everybody's
Mm.
tried to impress, given that extra 5%, it all goes back to normal nearly 9 times out of 10. That is fact. Very few teams, unless you bring in lots of players or you sack a manager. That's what I said. You have to make a decision now whether you bring in a new manager before the transfer window or you give Eddie Howe this transfer window if you rightly say we've got money to spend. Because I think
Right. Well,
he
and
has
I'm
been
I'm saying
failed.
that's the end of story. That
Yeah,
is that is the it's D-Day. It's
yeah,
it's D-Day.
absolutely. He has to have the chance to prove where our weaknesses
I
have
think
been,
he
and now
deserves the chance to prove it.
absolutely.
But
And I think with us not supporting him over the last 2 transfer windows, for whatever reason, and obviously it's come out again in the national press about, we have become, unfortunately, we are now under the umbrella of, Amanda and Mirdad's overspending. And what's happened now is not only have you got a new backroom board on board, you've also got a backroom staff that haven't got the purse to obviously comply with the requirements of the club. So you've got added pressure. It's not just the playing staff that are struggling at the minute. I think it's a struggle across the board from a number of scenarios, and I think that's what I said. I think what you have to do at the minute, you have to wait for the storm to pass before you can start saying, you know what, you have had every opportunity as a manager, as a head coach, whatever you want to call yourself, with this club, and given all of the support from behind the scenes. Now it's time to go. I think at the minute it's a knee jerk reaction, but that's only my opinion.
it's certainly
Um,
not a knee-jerk reaction from me, because I've been, as you know. staunchly behind Eddie.
Oh,
And
no.
in the face of multiple barrages to the contrary.
Yeah. But you've also said that if we're not in line with the top four come Christmas, which is before the transfer window, what can you tell me in your crystal ball is going to change if we haven't
Well,
got the person that'll change it?
when I said at the start of the season that this squad was available, with the squad we currently had available, I believe that squad was it. Now, the one significant difference from what I believed at the start of the season and where we are now, surprise, surprise, is that I was hopeful, well, I was expectant that Callum Wilson was going to be available.
Yeah, there you go. Like we all was.
And he hasn't been available.
No, at all.
You know,
And
I thought Callum would be available at the start of the season, and he's still
yeah.
not available yet. And that, again, pointing to what's blatantly obvious, the chances that we're not creating,
Well, just to
that we're not
take.
taking, sorry.
Yeah. Well, just to take this on board, Quinn, because we look at the collective, don't we? And I know that the head coach always gets the flack for this, but let's just take a little bit of a have a look at the last 46 Premier League games, and this is something that I've had a quick look at, and I'm only going to put a few players on here. So 46 Premier League matches, Target's played 3. Wilson's played 20, or he's made 20 appearances, I should say. Target 3 appearances. Botman 17 appearances. Pope 23 appearances. Willock 15 appearances. That's out of 46. And this is what I keep trying to say to you. When you've got a limited squad, your hands are forced, and your lads will go out there and give that extra 5%. When you've got that little bit of depth, as we have got now, which we've all been asking for, have players now had a bit of a conscious return and said, well, I don't have to play. I can play within myself a little bit more now because if I need a break, I've got players that will come on. I don't know. There is definitely something, there's been a mental shift somewhere that creates this problem. And the player for me that I sounded out shows ago when I got shouted down by saying he's not good enough was Elliot Anderson. And I think it's Elliot Anderson's charisma, his tenacity, his drive to win the ball back, and that little bit of quality that he can show with the close control. At his present moment in time, I think we are missing. I think we are missing a player that can come in off the bench that can do something like that. Willock at this present moment in time doesn't look like a player that wants to be at this club. And I don't know whether that's just me that I see that, but I'm seeing too many players adopt this "I'm only a squad player" attitude, and aren't fighting for that starting 11. And I think that's the mentality at this present moment in time that Eddie has to work with, and he has to work against, and he has to change attitudes of individuals, whether they start
So
or
again,
whether
you're
they
saying
come off
that's
the
down
bench.
to Eddie.
Well, it's not. It's down to the players that Eddie adopted. No, it is though, isn't it? When you
Yeah,
look
but
at it,
it's up to Eddie to change that attitude, isn't it?
yeah. But
And
what I'm saying
if
to
he
you is,
can't, they're no good to us.
well, we'll see on Wednesday because it's going to be the perfect opportunities because I can see a few changes on Wednesday. Um, I can honestly see a few changes. I think
Well, I'll be livid if we don't put our best 11 out on Wednesday. I will be livid because, as I've said a million times, the Carabao Cup is the best chance we've got of getting silverware.
it is absolutely.
But didn't do Ten Hag any good.
No, well,
Foxy's in here. Serious question for Win. I know I wind him up about his previous comments about us being a title challenge. I'll continue that for the rest of the season. But why did Win really think that was possible? Well, I'll tell you why I thought it was possible. Because in 22-23, we finished in the Champions League. And in the summer, we went out and strengthened that squad with Barnes and Tonali. £100 million worth of players who were going to improve that squad that finished top 4. Last season, we didn't get to see either of them, basically. Tonali for his ban and Barnes for his freak injury. So we didn't get the chance to see them. And then by having to play the rest of the weekend squad through that 10-game December spell, it just completely knackered. So this season, what we effectively started with this season was exactly that 22-23 squad, improved by having Tonali and Barnes both available, improved by having bought Livramento and Hall to give us options. And so I thought with our 22-23 team improved with the introduction of Livramento, Hall, Tonali and Barnes, that to me is a squad good enough not just to finish top 4 but to challenge. So that was my reasoning behind why I really thought that was possible. Now, what's happened this season is we've had all of that, but we haven't had Wilson. 22-23, Wilson got 21 goals. Or 18 goals, sorry, in the league. And we haven't got that now. And we also had a situation where Wilson and Isak were fighting each other for that position. And if they both basically knew if they didn't score, they would get replaced the next game. Now we haven't got that. So that is why I really, honestly, truly, deeply believed that we should have been challenging this season. So the only bit of the jigsaw that's missing, if you like, is Callum Wilson still being unfit.
So let me just turn this back on a couple of guys in the chat, because I always try and get a measure or an angle on why people suggest certain things. Now, in all the history that I've been involved in football, whether it be managing or coaching or even watching a game, a lot of the game is measured on expected goals. It's a metric that obviously is part of the actual measurement of how well your team is doing. Now, if Eddie Howe's playing a team and we aren't high in the XG, um, and again, let's just take it back. It works on every game. That they'll give you a stat on how well your XG is, and you made a comment before, Win, that our XG was higher than Chelsea's. Our XG was much higher than Brighton. Our XG was much higher. Um, I can't remember who we played before that then. Everton, that's it. Better let me mind then. The only time our XG has been less this season has been the opening couple of games, the opening few games, and obviously against Fulham at away loss. So you have to ask the question, and this is why I want to go back to the fans, especially the people in the chat that are saying, Eddie's lost the players and everything else. If we are still having more XG than Chelsea, who, very good put together team, got some individuals that can change a game, as we saw yesterday. I thought Palmer was exceptional. If our XG is still outnumbering theirs, why is it Eddie's fault? That's what I'm trying to say to you. Why is it Eddie that always takes the flak? If he is a manager, if he is a head coach that tactically has created more chances of scoring, but we've still managed to lose the game, how is that Eddie's fault?
Well, that's
what I'm saying.
But that's exactly what I've said to you.
Well,
Because when he's creating teams and tactics to achieve those stats, to get us in those positions. And the one thing we're not doing is finishing with dinner. Why is it when it comes to substitutions, that's the one bit of the jigsaw that he doesn't try and change? That's
Yeah, but
exactly the point I'm making.
yeah, but you've often said you'll go player for player because, like I've just said to you, okay, tell me something that Eddie could have done on against Chelsea yesterday that would have changed the situation.
Well, let's try getting Isak off. He was rubbish.
Okay, that, that's
And
one.
put
So
Osula on and let's see
yeah,
how it
just give it,
goes.
see how he goes.
At
Yes,
least that's
okay.
try. We're still going to be creating the same amount of chances and
Yeah, yeah.
defending the way we defended.
Yeah. But you see, this is what I said to you before. I honestly think that it's this father figure that Eddie Howe tries to provide with the youngsters. He did it with Hall, yeah, he's done it with Tino to a degree, and I think he's doing that with Osula. He's trying to bring Osula into the squad on a slow premise. Again, under what you was
Well, don't
saying
forget, by
earlier.
by the way, yesterday as well, we didn't have Trips and we didn't have Gordon.
No,
And
exactly.
they would have made a difference.
They are, but don't forget Trips is getting older and slower. That's what I'm saying. I think we have got a team at this present moment in time that have peaked and have started that downward curve in certain areas, in certain positions. And I think these are where, like over the next 18 months, I'm going to say maybe another full season. If your class is, from Christmas to Christmas next year, we have to seriously look at availability for certain players because I don't think Shaw is at that quality anymore. I don't think Burn is going to be of that quality uh, in the next
I
12
agree.
months. Because they're going to be getting slower. They're not going to be getting quicker. They're
Correct.
going to be getting slower. And that's what I'm saying. It's great that we've got Kelly, but I think we should be starting to see Kelly a lot more against certain teams because I think he can support us. We are definitely missing Botman and Shaw um, relationship because obviously that wasn't always the good outlet for us. But again, people forget that these players are getting older. And when you get older, you do get slower. And it's just, you can't just say it's a name. That
But
player should always play because it doesn't work
yeah,
like that.
but all that said, it's still not our defense, which is the problem.
I know.
The way Eddie sets up, the way he plays, the defense is not a problem.
No,
It's the attack that's the problem.
no, but what it's
Last
showing.
season, the defense was the problem because last season, as you've just pointed out there, Pope wasn't available for half of it. Botman wasn't available for the most of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So last season, scoring goals wasn't the problem.
It was conceding them
It was
was.
conceding goals that was the problem last
Yeah.
season. We were fourth highest scoring goals, which is queer considering, again, we hardly had uh, Wilson available at all. But we did have Gordon on fire for the full
It
season.
was supported, exactly.
And him and Isak were working well together, as we know.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's basically where we were getting our goals from last season. So
But that's what I'm saying. You just hit the nail on the head there, you see. It's like I said, where last season we were scoring goals for fun, we were conceding them when we didn't need to concede them, and we were losing silly games or drawing silly games. This season, we can't score a goal to save our lives. We are struggling up top, and yet we lose a little bit of concentration. We open the door or ajar for a crazy shot. Like I say, Pope yesterday, I would have thought 9 times out of 10 would have saved. And again, it's this. Like I keep saying, every team, every striker will go through blank slots. Every team will go through a dip in form, and we are going through that now. Now, what's creating it? I do not know. All I'm saying to you is, when Lady Luck isn't on your side, and that rhythm is just out of your game, every single thing that can go against you sometimes does go against you. And I thought we had a little bit of luck yesterday against Chelsea, um, where we needed it. But when we need to make a decision on whether to challenge or whether to actually again, mark the half spaces rather than the player tight. And I think that's also that mental agility that let us down when you say, you don't always have to be touch tight to press a player. And it's whether you press a player in unity. And I think that's been another thing I've seen this season, where we've done it individually rather than a team press like we did last season. And I think yesterday we were just too naive. I think yesterday we fell into a little bit of a trap, and unfortunately we got done on that little bit of naivety. And again, it was more the fact that we weren't marking the channels, we went touch tight, and it just didn't work. Um, some days it works for you, some days it doesn't. And this season, like I say, we're going through a transitional period. And like I say, I also blame what's happened in the back room. I also blame what's happened with Amanda, overspending. I think there's a multitude of issues. It's not just Eddie Howe. And I think that's what's transitioning on the park. But unfortunately, as fans, as we always do, emotion, because as a fan, we always point the finger to blame at the head coach.
Well,
Um,
I'm going, like I say, a lot of the Eddie out rhetoric has been social media based. Because as I've said a million times, in the crowd when I'm at I don't know anybody who wants Eddie out. But it'll be interesting to see when I go on Wednesday. I'll have a word with a few people
mm,
and see where they are standing now. Um, get through a few of these chats, Foxy again. 22-23. We don't finish top four without the World Cup break, in my opinion. We limped over the line. Also, the first time is the easy part. Repeating it is more difficult.
is more
Well,
difficult.
that's
It is.
true in a way because obviously our style and the high pressing that we did that year that was so enjoyable. Team. It was new to teams, and
Mm,
that there's a very strong opinion now that we've been sussed. The technically knowledgeable coaches we've got in the Premier League now say, right, oh, that's what they're going to do. Right, this is what we're going to do, and that was noticeable the first couple of games of last season when Pep said he actually came out in his interview and said if we tried to play Newcastle at their own game, would have got beat. So they more or less give us the ball and said, "Come on, you come at us."
uh, an
James Cook.
interesting one
So
that's just come
5
through there.
games, 2 of which we played well enough to get more from, and it's burn the house down, sack the manager, which is effectively what you're saying, Gary.
Yeah,
PD,
I've just an interesting one there from
PDK.
Stephen NUFC there. XG doesn't give you points. Well,
Well,
obviously
that's true.
XG is creating chances, and
We nearly
you
lost
only you
fourth
only
to
get
Liverpool.
points if you score goals.
Nearly lost fourth to Liverpool. Lucky to get over the line if it wasn't for Pope's last minute save. That's what he's there for.
Absolutely.
James Cuff. Sports, like most everything, is a results driven industry. And Grant, I'm not how out currently. And Brant again, sticking up for himself, I think. What's happened here? We've had chances so far this season we normally put away. But for whatever reason, we aren't getting the ball in the back of the net. Indeed. Nail, hello, Nail. It's tactical ineptitude to play a high line against Chelsea, and that's down to Eddie as coach.
It was tactical suicide. I totally agree with that
Yeah,
one.
so that's everything we've
Unless
got
you're
here
marking, like
so
I say,
far.
the blocking channels, and that's what I said. If you go in tight, you go with, you just block the channels to pass through them, because what you're expecting them to do is pass short. That's what you're wanting them to do. If you give them an outlet, and again, is it Eddie's fault, or have they took what Eddie Howe has said to a different level? And that's what I said. Sometimes when you're looking at a tactical board and you're pouring it down, when you're trying to put across to a player, I want you to go tight on this player, but I want you to work in the channels, not so the ball passes you by. You want them to go short. That's the idea of it. If you look at that picture that I put on before, where you've got a natural outlet given to Nicholas Jackson, and Palmer a couple of times, was exactly the same. It's different when we did get it right, if you remember, when Sanchez was going over the top. How many times did he kick it out of play?
No, well, I mean,
It was
Andrew
rubbish.
Wonder, the Chelsea fan on the match preview, said Sanchez's
Yeah,
distribution is absolute pants.
yeah. The problem is, you see, but by that time it was too late, and that's what I said. Once I start getting it right, it was far too late.
But he has the things. This is your new manager, Bounce PDK. There saying, "Man, Spew soon to be above us with the new manager, Bounce."
It's funny, isn't it? A bunch of happy clappers. Well, if that's what I am, I'm happy to have that title.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like I
me
say,
too. I'll wear that
uh,
badge with honor.
I'm a fan. That's what I am. I've seen too many people too quickly try and get out of the situation, but nobody ever blames the players. And sometimes, like I say, you can only put so much out there. I've just seen not enough from the players this season.
Yeah, Darren Lee. Who needs to get a result midweek? If we don't look like the side to finish top 8 this morning. Cups might be our window to Europe. Well, I hope not. I hope not. I mean, I'd take it if that, but I still think there's more to come. Coming
Mm.
in thick and fast now. Who needs to get a result midweek? Oh, just done that one. Oh,
Yeah, we've
sorry,
done that one.
GTFL. Oh, hang on, these are ancient.
Yeah, a lot of these are you've already done, buddy.
Yeah, get down here.
Are you looking at just the starred one again?
Yeah, no, I've got them all, but I've
Oh,
wasted.
Harry Austin's just come on board saying morning. Harry, you're coming towards the end of the show, my friend. I'm sorry if you've missed it, but go and
Yeah,
have a look at
in
the
fact, I think
on the
that's more or
start.
less it.
Um, just want to. I'm How out, and
Oh,
I
well,
have
we're
been
gonna,
for a while.
yeah, let's
He's
let's
repeating
have a look
exactly
at
what
that one.
happened at
Trippier for
Bournemouth.
Prime Minister. I'm how old have been for a while. He's repeating exactly what happened at Bournemouth, exactly how the Bournemouth fans said it would happen. Oh well, I haven't heard any of them saying that, but and
I just
Brandt,
think, like I say, that
there's a couple of
not
things there,
clinical
Curry. They
needed to be
smoked us
counted.
early. We got lucky and they didn't score. We didn't change and got exposed. Whose fault is that? Why didn't Kelly start? Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's what I said. We did get smoked earlier. We were lucky, but like I said, unfortunately, the tactic that all of the fans have been asking for, which is the high press, which is the identity, you know, he's gone back to, and it failed. And it's gone back to because what they were trying to do was go man to man, and it's not again something that you can
And
pre-plan.
but I would argue that it's failed because we're not finishing with dinner because it's actually working.
Well, like I keep saying, people just keep on talking about, XG doesn't mean anything. Well, I'd be so disappointed if we had an XG like less than Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester. Um, you, and again, people come. It's like you blame. It's not about pointing the blame at anything. Like I said, when you're in a bad rut, and that's what we are at the moment, we're in a really bad situation. The slightest thing changes games. If we'd have put, if Isak yesterday had have squared that ball to J7, had an open goal to slot it into, we would have come out potentially. I'm not saying we would have finished the game with a draw, but potentially we had a higher chance of coming away with a point. Would you be as disappointed today? I mean, like I said, there's going to be a lot of teams that go to Stamford Bridge this season and get turned over. I'm telling you now, they ain't a bad side.
Well, good
They are
side.
definitely a top six side,
Well, I had
and
them.
that's what I'm
I
saying.
had them
With the
finishing
money that
third.
they've spent, you know what I mean? If we'd have spent anywhere near what these guys had spent, it wouldn't have been what we've seen this season. And that's what I said. You can't just keep going on what we've seen at this present moment in time and blaming Eddie Howe. You've got to put a proportionate amount of blame on the lads that are out there playing from the start because I just don't see enough from what they're doing to get us beyond the finish line. That's like I keep saying.
So Jordan is saying, "Sorry, Gary. It seems you'll blame anyone but the man who sets the system, trains the players, and tells a player in a game how to win."
Yeah, yeah. I know I've read that one,
and see out
but
the game
I
to
have blamed Eddie Howe.
Eddie is a
That's what I said.
victim, not a failed head coach. Well, Jordan, what I'm saying, I'm agreeing with Gary, is that he's picking the team, setting it out, working out how they're going to play, and we're doing everything right.
Apart from score
We're
goals.
creating chances, chance after chance, but we're not finishing them. No, Eddie Howe kind of get in the box and stick his nut on someone.
No, no. That's what I'm saying. If we were at the bottom of of not creating anything, not getting the corners, not winning anything up the top of the field, and a lot of teams are like that at the minute that are struggling in and around where we are, then you would I'd be probably one of yourselves. This guy's tactically inept. He's not really getting us moving or motivating. I've not seen that. I've seen us get into them positions. Unfortunately, I just don't see a centre forward in Isak, and I've said that for he had one purple patch. But
Borky09, there's a new name. Hello, Borky09. You guys seems to just defend Howe like the press. He's a B&M manager managing a Harrods team. Well,
okay,
that's your opinion. We'll
you know,
agree to differ on that one.
that's what I said. I mean, I'm happy to have everybody's opinion.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not
Well,
saying
there's
all I'm saying to
Foxy.
you
Howe
is
hasn't impressed me at all this season. It's a big week for him, honestly. I'm not Howe out, as where we are right now is really not far off what I expected with our recent recruitment.
exactly.
That's balanced. That's fair.
Yeah, it's more than fair. And that's what I said. You've got to blame Eddie for aspects of where we are now, because at the end of the day, he's the one that insisted on the recruitment side of things. Mitchell come in and supported Eddie's choice. Now we have to give, you know, Eddie's had his play and it hasn't happened. That's where you critique. I critiqued him and said that is not the way you should be as a head coach. Yes, you can give your point of view forward, and Eddie must be involved in some of the recruitment, but you shouldn't just have the final say in where we go with this. If Paul Mitchell doesn't get the opportunity to bring in players that can support and take this club forward, then yes, I will be fully behind the Eddie out brigade, because that just stops us going forward. Full stop.
Yeah, we've got the other twin in. We've got both twins in today. Hey, Peter, apparently, if you've got goodwill towards a manager who drags us from relegation to Champions League, you're a happy clapper. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. That's what I said. People just sometimes forget, and I don't like going back into the past, and that's not the way I am. I'll critique somebody, and anybody, and I've done that. I try to be as fair and open with my opinions as I possibly can, and that sometimes doesn't go down well with everybody. But I also aren't one of these people that when it's not going well for us, just wants to change, because sometimes it's it's better the devil you know. Trust me.
There's the gaffer in. It's not solely Isak, man. Eddie breaks the team every substitution he makes. God.
Yeah. Well, that's your opinion,
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
say.
yeah. And on that happy note,
Yeah. That's it. We are done for today. Well, until later on tonight. I'm sure there's a show coming your way
yeah,
between
nine
somewhere around
thirty tonight, I think it
9:30,
is.
is it?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that'll be on the
And
another point of
we've
call
actually
where we'll
got
be
an
talking.
emergency meeting tonight.
Have we?
Live emergency meeting.
Oh, crikey. I hope it's not the doom and gloom.
We have got some interesting information.
Ah, okay. Look forward to it then. Look forward to
So
it.
come to the emergency meeting, one and all. Bring your
Yeah,
friends.
indeed. I'm just looking for
Ah, ah, ah.
right. So, on that note, then I suppose it's been lovely to have you with us again. Apologies if you guys were sat waiting, thinking that we were on at 11 o'clock. I don't know why, but it is what it is. But again, thank you
Down
all
to you,
for
Juno. We'll definitely be back 12 o'clock on Wednesday.
on Wednesday. Indeed. Well, we don't forget we'll have the presser on Tuesday as well.
Yeah.
Because that'll be obviously for the Chelsea game coming up on Wednesday. I don't know whether we will have have one on Wednesday, because we've got so much to to
Oh,
do.
well, that's true.
We'll wait and see because obviously
Wait and
with it
see.
being the
Watch this
Chelsea
bit.
game on the
Hit the
19th,
bell, hit the notification.
yeah, yeah.
Make sure you don't miss out on anything.
We'll see where we are on Wednesday because, like I say, we'll be doing stuff Monday, Tuesday, and obviously Wednesday. So we may not have a show Wednesday daytime. Give us, like I say, like Win says, give us a thumbs up. Thank you ever so much for your support. But until then, it's a goodbye from him.
And it's a goodbye from him.
See you on the next one, guys.
How are the lads?
Take care for now.